Toby Lanzer is the Deputy Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General, as well as the UN's Resident and Humanitarian Coordinator for that country, Afghanistan. He joins us now. Boy, that was a mouthful. Toby, good to have you on the show. I wanted to ask you, just days after this historic deal between the Taliban and the United States, the Taliban came out, whether it was a disregard of this deal or said they would not abide by it. They started their operations against the Afghan government. Talk to us about the humanitarian situation, not just in the capital, Kabul, but also in rural areas where many say there was never even a lull in the violence.
Well, thank you. And I think the greatest hunger across Afghanistan is the hunger for peace and security. Every woman, every child I've ever listened to in the 25 provinces or so that I've visited now across the country tells me that the greatest yearning they have is just to get a night's sleep, a chance to stay at home. And for the displaced or people who have fled across the borders into Iran or Pakistan, the chance to come home. So this deal between the United States and the Taliban and the prospect of an intra-Afghan dialogue really gives a great sense of hope to people. People, I think, who know the road will be bumpy. There's no smooth sailing, but a recognition that this is Afghanistan's very best chance that it's had in over 2 decades.
Okay, so this road could be a bumpy one, as you say, but it also could bring on challenges, because under this deal, it's foreseen that the Americans' troop presence would be withdrawn. From a humanitarian aspect, what type of challenges are you likely to see? Are you going to see an influx of people going back? Are they going to be going to their homes? And this obviously must bring on some challenges.
Well, at the moment, we assess that there are 9.5 million people across the country in need of humanitarian assistance, and we will aim to reach as many of them as possible. Just to give you an example, last year, in 2019, we managed to reach 6 million people across the country in 98% of the country's districts, and that was when the war was raging. So now, if violence does start to subside, and if the reduction in violence holds, I'm very confident that the UN agencies and the non-governmental organizations, hand in hand with the authorities of Afghanistan, can make a real difference to people's lives in terms of education and healthcare and agriculture, just to name 3. So we have a plan, we're on it, and we're hoping that this reduction in violence allows us to reach more people across the country.
All right, I have about a minute left in the show, but I want to ask you, a couple of days ago, the International Criminal Court in The Hague came out and said that they would sort of reopen an investigation to see if alleged war crimes were committed by not only by the Afghan government, also the Taliban, as well as the U.S. Special Forces in the country. To what extent is your organization going to be involved in this investigation?
Look, as a humanitarian coordinator, my task is very straightforward. I know you introduced me with a long title, but as humanitarian coordinator, there's really one key aspect to the job, and that is to get as much aid, and I mentioned in particular in the areas of agriculture, in education, and in health, to the institutions that run those sectors, to the communities who are most engaged, be they herders, pastoralists, or farmers. And in particular in the health sector, what we'll be looking at in the coming days and weeks, of course, is as much preparedness as possible against COVID-19. So that's what I'm focused on, and I believe that that's what the people of this country need the most, in addition to this respite from war, this hope for peace.
Okay. All right, 2.7 million Afghans waiting for your help. All right, Toby Lanzer, thank you very much for joining us here on the NewsHour.